97. Considering that the prophets have given you the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, it is not seemly for you to falsify their words when teaching it, so that people of your kind, fellow human beings, may be your servants hands/helpers, and be subservient to you. Be at all times fair and teach the teaching as it has been given to you by the prophets. And make sure that the people of your kind, human beings, do not bow down, become enslaved to you, and do not become your zealots fanatics, but are loyally connected to the teaching of truth and creation. 98. It is not possible for the prophets to command you to accept the teaching of truth and follow it, because you must decide for yourselves whether you want to be connected to the teaching or not. If the prophets were to command you, then they would be the same as the rulers who impose coercion on their subjects and subjugate them when you have given yourselves up to their Gewalt. 99. And think of the bond that the prophets made with themselves in times of yore, so that you shall receive instruction, teaching, and guidance in the teaching of truth, which is why they have brought the teaching of truth and the wisdom to you up to the present day, in order to fulfill their bond that they made with themselves, so that you would be knowing in the truth and help yourselves to reach truthfulness, pureness, as a true human being. And think of the bond that the prophets entered within themselves with you the people, so that you would become fruitful through your understanding of the truth and would form your inner world consciousness in such a way as to turn yourselves to love and peace, as well as to knowledge and wisdom, so that true peace prevails in you and amongst you. 100. To enable everything to rise within you which is of great value and brings you unfolding evolution in your inner world consciousness, and in the thoughts and feelings as well as in your psyche, and also that all your virtues may prosper, so you have to agree to create all the great values in yourselves, which can only happen if you perceive your responsibility to its full extent, and as you agree and turn yourselves to your nobleness virtue, and fulfill it in all forms, then you confirm the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life as has been brought to you by the prophets. 101. Whoever turns to the teaching of truth and then turns away from it again, for whatever reason this may be, that person is committing an outrage against himself, because he will be turning to a delusional teaching of falseness. 102. And whoever turns away from the teaching of truth, which is the teaching of true knowledge and wisdom, will search for a teaching of belief that is bound to gods and tin gods and their priests and other servants of gods and servants of tin gods, and they will be willing to follow the false teaching in order to return to those from whom they came before they turned and out to the teaching of the prophets, to which they were however once again disloyal, because they do not understand the truth and are full of suspicion and discord, as well as being full of two-partedness, doubt, and without relation. 103. Know about the truth of the creative creation, and about the teaching of truth as has been revealed since time immemorial up to the present day by the prophets, and as was revealed to your forefathers and their forefathers and to all the people. And know that since time immemorial the prophets have not differentiated between those whom they have instructed, taught, therefore they did not display any conceit, arrogance/haughtiness/disdain, or any hatred against believers in tin gods and their priests and servants, and therefore neither against any other skin color or kinds races, and therefore the prophets never demanded that those whom they were instructing in the teaching of truth shall have to subjugate themselves to the teaching, because turning to it always has been and always will be a matter of one's own freedom. 104. How shall a people state, be taught in the fair responsible way if it itself and its authority are unfair, irresponsible, and unknowing in the real truth and the wisdom and therefore of the teaching of truth, the teaching of spirit, the teaching of life, because unfair, irresponsible authorities make for themselves unfair, inadmissible/biased laws and instructions and directives, ordinances/regulations, by means of which the people's freedom is held down, reduced/curtailed/constrained, and unfairly taught authorities impose unfair disproportionate charges taxes on the people in order to exploit the people in irresponsibility so that the higher ones may skim off their expenditure spending, imposed in falseness and irresponsibility at the expense of the people, because they spend more than they receive in fair proportionate charges taxes, since they cannot draw up an allocation plan budget in their incapability. Therefore the higher ones burden the people with more and more senseless charges taxes that serve to exploit and limit the people's freedom, wherefore the people in its indolence apathy does not take any countermeasure. So as a result the authorities fall prey to ever greater audacity in their exploitation by charges taxes. Therefore it shall be given that the people, rather than authority, shall decide on the necessary charges taxes, and an allocation plan and for all necessities, and for this purpose the people shall be advised by experts in the matter to be decided, so that the people's state may not fall into obligation debt/over indebtedness. 105. And in order to achieve fair responsible authorities which guide the people in a fair responsible way, handling their affairs and desires and requirements in a fair responsible way, then it can only be that the higher ones may not raise themselves up to their area office/position/boast, but are appointed by election voting, in which case the majority of the votes is decisive. It may be, however, that the candidates for an area office/position/boast in authority are strictly checked proved, so that only such persons are appointed to a task who are capable of fulfilling them equitably and in honesty and equitableness fairness, and without desiring personal advantages. And each person who is called into an area office/position/boast of authority shall be remunerated by the people's state in a fair proportionate manner, and not in an exaggerated remuneration, and therefore without special rights and claims as well as without special concession authority and special rights privileges, so that he or she may be ranked equally to any other fair one responsible one of the people, so that there may be no position of presumption superiority/elevation for the leaders compared to the people. In truth, in all rights all people of your kind human beings, as people of your kind human beings, are equal and one is not worth any more than another. Therefore there may be no difference between the leaders and the people, and also not between rich and poor, not between those who are knowing and unknowing, not between those who are educated and uneducated, not between fair ones responsible ones, and unfair ones irresponsible ones, and neither between believers and those who are knowing in the truth, or between kinds, races, and skin colors and peoples. 106. How shall the true prophets teach the people, irrespective of whether the people is knowing or unknowing in the teaching of truth, if the people does not confirm that it wants to be taught by them? And how shall the true prophets teach the authority, irrespective of whether the higher ones are knowing or unknowing in the teaching of truth, if they do not confirm that they want to be taught by them? In truth, the true prophets can only teach those who confirm that they want to be taught, whether they are knowing in the truth or knowing in the truth. 107. And truly, do not open your ears to those who lie to you, saying that you will be cursed if you do not believe in gods and tin gods, or in liberators, angels, and demons, and venerable ones, holy ones, because all of them are only insubstantial fabulations, inventions of those who are confused, and of all those who want to beat you down into servitude, bondage, and exploit you through your belief, and therefore their lies are also hazy pictures, delusions, as are shared by their believers and the priests of gods and tin gods, and of other servants of gods and servants of tin gods. And do not open your ears to those who lie to you that you will be cursed if you do not believe in priests and other servants, hands/helpers of mistaken beliefs, and gods and tin gods, and also if you do not believe in people of your kind human beings, who raise themselves up as goat heads or as authorized ones, substitutes of gods and tin gods and demons.